Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are live for our Sunday live stream feedback session. This is Josh with WA Production, back at it again. Hopefully another great week. Looking forward to hearing what you guys have to offer. But don't be worried if you're still a beginner, if you're still not quite where you want to be. That's kind of the point of this, right? I mean, if you're a top-notch, excellent producer, then you may not need this feedback. So, although feedback's always helpful, even if you're a master. But anyway, so I'm excited to help provide some constructive feedback today. I hope that it helps you guys. And even if you don't submit a track or if you don't get your track heard today, usually the feedback can help you in your own productions, I hope. You can maybe take a few lessons out of it or some tips and things you may not have tried before. So so this week I am going to do another piece of trivia, so stay tuned for that. I will open the submissions on Discord after I announce what the trivia question is. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join. As a reminder, all submissions need to be sent to the Discord link, which is right there above my head somewhere. At the top of the screen. That is the only place we accept submissions. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or MySpace or wherever else, I will not be checking submissions there in the comments or in my direct messages or anything like that. The only place is on the Discord server on the live stream feedback channel, which I have not opened yet. So don't worry if you can't post yet. You will be able to shortly. We prefer SoundCloud links. That is the easiest for me. I'll take a Dropbox link, but definitely no video links, no YouTube links, because those mess up the buffering when I try to replay them, and it just is not easy or fun to do. Only submit your track once, only submit one song for feedback, and if you are answering the trivia question that I'm about to ask, only submit it once along with your submission. Don't post twice. Don't post the song and then later post the answer. It needs to be all in one post. So that being said, I will ask this week's trivia question. If you submit your song and include the correct answer, the first 10 people to do that, I will guarantee that I listen to their track today. So the rest will be random. So there will be plenty of time, even if you don't know the answer or you're not one of the first 10. I will get to a decent number of them, as many as I can. But today's trivia question is going to be, how many devices can you activate WA Production plugins on at a single time? So if you purchase a license from us, how many devices can you activate your plugin on? With that being said, I have now opened up the submissions, so get right to it, and I will start going through these. So thanks, guys. So first, we're going to start with Love Me Better by Native MT.
The truth is a damn hard pill to swallow. I'm reaching out, but all I feel is hollow. I wanna make you work, but all I do is make you worse. The truth is a damn hard pill to swallow. Don't you wanna come on over? Don't you wanna work it out? Don't you wanna love me better, love me better, love me now? Don't you wanna fix our problems? Baby, I can show you how. Don't you wanna love me better, love me better, love me now?
always good to start off with some hard style. That was really, really good. Nice job. I mean, I think it's really well produced. It's mixed quite well. My real only comments would be I think that your transitions need to be a little bit better. I thought that, like, it's not so alarming, but they're a bit abrupt. I felt like, if you added some more effects in the build-ups and then some crashes as the drops or that the exposition sections come in, like right here, I think it would be a more fluid transition process. So work on that, and kind of along the same note, just some detail work. I think you could use some more fills or effects shots and things to keep the interest of the listener and to just kind of make it more exciting. But this is all detail work. Like the song itself and the production is all very good, and I think it's like 95% done. Otherwise, I mean, there's tiny little things, but really, without me listening to it a few more times, there's not much I can really say. I think that it sounds really good, and maybe the lead big hardstyle synth is maybe a little loud at some points, and would sound better if you toned it down a tiny bit. But overall, I mean, I think it's very, very good. So nice job. Okay, next we have Trick Shot by Switeki, or Switeki by Trickshot. I don't know, but it's the Mercy remix, MXRCY remix. Let's have a listen. Just a reminder, today's trivia question is, how many devices can you activate our plugins on at a time? So if you include that in your post on the Discord channel and you get it right, I'll listen to your track. Cool. I like the idea a lot. Somebody here comments that they can't believe you're already releasing a track, so maybe you're a beginner, but either way, I think it sounds quite good. So a couple of things. Overall, it's really the mix that needs work. There are some things that are just too loud. There are, for example, in the build, your kick, just like it comes in. I don't know if you've side chained like everything to it or what. I think you probably did. And so basically, the only thing in that build part that you can hear is the kick. So, when you sidechain in a drop, the kick is only playing, on the first and third note beat or whatever it is in your particular production. When you're doing the build and it's playing 16th notes or 32nd notes or whatever it is, like when you sidechain that, nothing will play because the kick is playing so frequently that everything else is just going to duck. And so that's not how you do it. Oftentimes, you might use two different kicks, so that you've only sidechained the one that's on the drop or whatever. Or if you are using the same kick, put it into a different track and sidechain only the one that's in the drop and not, or like reduce the sidechain a lot. on the one that's in the build, because you don't want to only hear the kick, have it sidechain so much. Alternatively, you can sidechain a ghost kick or a MIDI trigger and then not have to deal with that, and then just choose what you want sidechained. But that's a big one. The mix, I would say, yeah, I mean, just keep getting better. The lead kind of sounds a little too loud, and then your synths, your chords could be a bit louder, I think. So I mean, just kind of getting a little bit better at that stuff. But overall, I mean, musically, it sounds quite good, and I think you did a good job. So I don't know the original. I haven't heard the original song, but it sounds good to me. So just keep working at it and improving. Um, okay, Melophile Shubham. Melophile Shubham. I'm sure that is super wrong, so I'm sorry about that. Anything you want.
I can be your everything, baby. Anything you want, anything you like. I can be whatever you need. Anything you want, anything you like. 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 I can be your everything, baby. Anything you want, anything you like. I can be whatever you need. Anything you want, anything you like. Anything you want, anything you like. Anything you want, anything you like. Anything you want, anything you like.
Cool. All right. So there's some really good stuff and some stuff that needs improvement for sure. I mean, overall, the drop and things and the idea is really cool. Firstly, the most immediate thing you need to fix is right here where you do that. You have like the vocal and you double it down into a different key below it. Um, it may not be technically off key, but it has the effect of sounding off key either way, because when you double down a vocal like that and you basically put something below it, now that is acting as the root note. And the root note, and I'm not going to say always because there's always rules that you can break, but generally the root note should be like the original note, if that makes sense. Otherwise, it basically sounds like you're playing the vocal in like a different key. So I would just double it down and have it be exactly an octave below it. When you do want to add like fifths or add different pieces of a chord on top, you can do it on top and see how that sounds. But when you do it below, it changes the entire feeling of the vocal or of the instrument that you're playing. So try it just doing just an exact octave below. I think that'll sound a lot better and it won't sound out of key. Secondly, that chord stab that you play at the beginning of each bar, basically like bump, ba-na-na-na-bump, like that bump sound. It's very, it has like a reverb tail and like is super back in the mix. I would, because there's nothing else really playing during that time and that's supposed to really hit you hard, I would make that front and center, remove the reverb or super reduce it. And like if there's like a release tail or delay, or decay, I mean, try and shorten that, remove that as well. Just make it tighter. You want it to feel like it's part of the kick, like it should just hit you as one hit rather than the kick and then like this little chord, below it. So anyway, those would be my main things. The mix just generally needs some work. Things are not. Some things are too loud, some things are too soft, some things are sitting too far behind in the mix when they really should be front and center. So, but overall, it's a cool idea though, and I think it's got some potential for sure. Okay, Eliminate. You're Gonna Love Me, featuring Leah Culver, Moroid remix. Cool. All right. So that's really good. I do have comments, but really good. The drop is heavy. It's really cool. Honestly, I'm not sure if I've heard the original yet. I should go listen to it. So it's hard for me to compare to the original. But I do like the drop a lot. I think, obviously the vocal's not yours, but it's really cool. My biggest thing would be detail work. And I kind of said this to somebody before. This sounds 95% of the way done. And I know that you've probably already released it and all that. And so, just keep this in mind for the next one. The most tedious part for me that I hate the most, but I know is super important, is that detail work. So these transitions are a little basic. This one before the drop is pretty cool, but for example, right here, it just plays that little snare. Doing something more complex or cool would be a lot better. And that's kind of throughout. And then the transitions sort of just they're not as epic as they need to be to prepare you for this awesome drop. And so I would work on your transitions and just forcing yourself to do all that detail work with the fills and all of that. I think that's really the only thing that's missing from making this song really excellent. So, I know that part is tedious. It's not that fun, but do that. And that's kind of what separates good from great tracks a lot of the time. So, but yeah, really good job. I really liked it. Cool. This is definitely not pre-recorded, by the way, guys. I don't know why you're saying that. But this would be really hard to do pre-recorded. You guys just opened submissions 20 minutes ago. So anyway, Sweet Chili by Van Mill. Let's have a listen. All right, cool. Yeah, that's a cool hip hop beat. So it basically just sounds like it's not finished, and maybe it's not, of course. Um, Firstly, that sub, that 808 sub, whatever you want to call it, needs to be a focal point of the track. Right now, it's really mellow, and in this kind of, you know, genre, that needs to hit you like in your chest. And so, a couple ways to fix that would be, of course, you can always replace it with a more heavy sound, but also you can do some multi-band compression. You can add saturation to give it more higher overtones. That will also help the general mix because it sounds a little thin right now. When you have a sub that doesn't have any overtones really, it just kind of leaves that low to low mid area super empty and it just doesn't sound as full. So that'll help you a lot. And then yeah, just adding detail work, adding in some hi-hats. I mean, I didn't really hear any, maybe I missed them, but obviously I assume you'd be adding vocals to this, which will also help. But just I think mixing is a big part of it, like getting your snares to snap and getting things to sound in their right places and adding some effects and creativity there, I think will do a lot of good. But it's a cool starting point, and I think you just need to produce it out. So nice job though. Thank you for submitting. And obviously we don't get a lot of hip hop rap beats on here, so always nice to hear. Okay, now we got Kuli Buka. Wow, yeah, that's really good. I love the chill ambient kind of nature of it, but it does have like a driving beat. Very cool. You do a really good job of having things change over time and progress, and using super unique sounds like that plucked instrument and different things like that that are not typical things you hear in most tracks. So I think you do a really good job of keeping it unique, having a good flow, and keeping it interesting despite it being a 6 minute song. So nice job. Um, I think that you could do some things mix wise and maybe some replacements with some of the elements with especially with the kick. I think that I know this isn't a banging EDM track, but I think it's super thin and clicky a little bit. So I think that if you either do some EQing or some or replace it with a different kick or something, that would help. It doesn't need to be a hard style kick or something like that, but having it be to where it's really locked into the bass and it sounds like one fluid big sound in there, just so that it's thicker. It just needs more body, to have you really feel it. I wanted to just feel this track a little bit more and I didn't. So I think that would help a lot. Uh, Really the same, just with a few of the other elements, like some of the synth chords. I think if you thicken it up with a little bit of saturation, just like some warmth, I think that'll help a lot. Some of the elements just are kind of like only taking up this much space in the frequency spectrum, and like it would just be a more full song if they took up a bit more space and had some different overtones and things like that added in there. So the only other thing I would say is that I think it's a little quiet. I mean, I think it looks mastered well and it sounds good, but again, I know this isn't a dubstep song. It doesn't need to be limited to the extreme, but just take a look at what your peak value is, and maybe you can master it a little bit. See how there's like quite a bit of dynamics in the drops, and the difference between the drop, if you want to call it that, and the rest of the song is a very big difference. Maybe add a little bit more limiting just to have a little bit less dynamic range. You don't want to take it fully away, but I think that it could use a little bit more. So that would be really the main stuff. So, but it's really cool though. I really like that. Okay, into you, final, real final dot FLP. Roy, into you, final. right, nice job. I like the melody. I think it's cool. I think that the production is overall pretty good. Um, so a couple of things. Firstly, in the drops, those chords are just way too wet. They just firstly they're too wet, and they have too much low frequency information both in the chords and in the reverb tail that plays after it. So what I would try and do, listen to, some people are saying it sounds like Martin Garrix. Listen to Martin Garrix tracks, listen to other songs in this genre, and hear how the chords act. See how far forward and wide they are, and how they cut off at the end of each chord. My guess is you're going to realize that they don't have this long tail playing in between each chord piece. So what I would do is, if you're going to have reverb on it, which you probably should have some, high pass it, and then probably EQ out some of the lows in the actual chords themselves as well. And potentially, I'm not sure exactly how the chords look, but remove some of the release or decay time of the chords themselves. You want it to just be more clean. You want it to be brighter, and that long muddy tail end just makes it sound muddy. That's going to make a big difference for you. Secondly, something that is challenging to do when producing entirely in the box is making organic instruments sound real, and I think that's a big problem in this track. Your string instruments and your pianos just sound very straight out of the DAW. And so a couple of ways to fix that. I actually recently posted a video on our Instagram page where I did like a live walkthrough of me creating piano sounds. That might help you. Right now, I can guarantee you that you're only using one piano sound, and it just sounds very stock. Typically when I'm doing pianos, I'll use usually like a mix of like 3 or 4 different pianos, EQ, just take the parts that I want from each one, mix them together and process them together. It'll make it sound much more impactful and realistic and unique. Also, same for the strings and both the piano. You need to syncopate the velocity of your notes. When somebody is playing piano or playing strings, they're not all playing at the same volume. So when you do that in a DAW, it just sounds super fake. And you can tell that it's not being played by somebody. So I don't know if you're a piano player or anything like that, but listen to real piano and hear kind of how the emphasis of different notes changes over time when somebody's playing and they're hitting harder or softer. If you're not doing that in your DAW, then it's going to sound really fake. So those would be my main tips for that, and I think that you're on the right track though, and it sounds cool. All right, Leonard Ellis, Don't You Want Me?
What?
right. I think that's really cool. I think it does need a little bit of work, but I think it's a cool idea. So one thing I'll say is I think that it would be cool if you did a little bit more panning. I think everything kind of sounds dead center. You have some really cool different elements, and it would be nice if they came, from the left side, from the right side. Not overdoing it, but having some things in different places just gives it a more spatial context. Um, Aside from that, I think that maybe having a little bit more of a switch up. I mean, I know this genre is repetitive by nature, um, but maybe adding another layer onto the lead in the last drop, or just having something unexpected happen and then switching back to the same melody and the same stuff, I think could help. Yeah, I mean, I think mostly it's detail work. Adding in, listen to some of your favorite artists in this genre. The way that they keep it from getting too repetitive is by having a bunch of interesting little things, like subtle changes, subtle effects, subtle, like, I don't know, rhythmic wobbly things, and like you do some of that, but I think it could use a little bit more to keep the listener engaged throughout. But overall, it's produced quite well. I think the bass also could be stronger. Not necessarily volume, but like something in the processing to get it to just like you feel it more, the sub frequency range, and getting that body to get in there, as far as just helping the groove keep moving along. So I don't know if that's maybe widening some of the higher frequency parts of it, or adding a layer, or adding some more compression or something like that, but trying a few things and seeing what works could help you here. So anyway, nice job. I really liked it. Vetrox 30. Okay, cool. I like that. It's definitely interesting. I think mainly the mix is where you need some help. So firstly, that the bass that is like, just playing repetitively. I think it would be better if you, like, right now when it's mixed in with everything else, it kind of sounds like it's just playing a sustained note rather than what it's actually doing, which is playing, I think, like 16th notes or whatever it is. So I think if you reduce the decay on it and make it more plucky, it'll actually give this track more groove. And I think that's kind of what you're going for, I think. So I think that'll help. It'll also help some of the muddiness because you won't have that playing kind of throughout. It'll have a little bit more space between each note, if that makes sense. So I think that'll help. I also thought it would be cool if you did a little bit of filtering with some of the sounds. Like there's that like chord keys kind of thing that plays like around here. That like chord thing. I think it right now it's like super reverby and kind of behind in the mix. I think it would be nice. I mean, it's okay the way it is, but I think if you had like a filter that would just kind of flow, an auto filter, and make it brighter and then back down to where it is now. Something like that would give it a little bit more movement in the track. And then also when you're coming up to this, like, if you want to call it drop, or whatever you want to call this build up here, it becomes like the only part that's playing. And with it being so filtered, and it just doesn't, it's not that effective. Like that, it's just like you need it to be like bah, bah, bah. I know it's not an EDM song, but like it needs to be more impactful than that. So there's just a few things like that I would just adjust. Your drums are, I think that this song needs like your drums to be the front and center thing and just like really hit you in the face, because everything else is kind of just like that, and the bass are just kind of playing and flowing down the middle and just doing this repetitive thing. Everything else can be the more airy and interesting stuff. I think those drums need to be just more like right in your face. And so having that snare and that kick just be maybe more compressed and like just in your face, I think that'll help a lot. So anyway, I think that's really good though. It's a really interesting track, so nice job. Okay, we got Knockout by Pyron. Hey guys, please don't post your song twice. If you do that, I won't be playing your song because it's not fair. Because that means my eyes see it more often than everyone else's, which means I'm more likely to play it. So if I catch you doing that, I'm going to skip you this week. So thanks. Okay, cool. Before I get into my feedback for this track, I just want to mention because I'll probably forget if I don't. We don't accept YouTube links. So if you submitted a link with the YouTube from YouTube, that's probably why I haven't listened to your track yet. Um, I've said at the beginning, it's just SoundCloud links, maybe Dropbox links if you have to, but I don't play videos because it'll mess up with the buffering, it'll mess up the stream, it won't look good. So um, please resubmit with a SoundCloud link or something like that if you want to be listened to. Okay, Pyron, whatever. Sorry. So I think this was cool. Firstly, the drop has just way too much reverb. Like you're, it's just making it super muddy. I would almost remove most of that reverb. You want your main sound to be front and center, and when you put reverb on it, it makes it kind of pushed back in the mix and sound a little weird. What you can do is have reverb that is high passed and just have some of the highs then playing through the reverb. But if you have the entire sound going through a reverb, it just adds this muddiness and makes it sound like you're listening to it in a warehouse, which is not a desirable effect. So definitely reduce the reverb on that. As far as the breaks, they just kind of are a little boring. The sounds are a little thin. It's not very impactful. I mean, if you listen to this section right here, it's so much quieter and thinner than what you get when you're in the drop or the build. So focus on those parts too. I know they're not the most fun parts to make, but you want to be a little bit more unique. Those sounds kind of sound like you just took them straight out of a preset and threw them in there. Adding some saturation, adding some effects, doing interesting things with it, I think will make a big difference for you. But overall, it's a cool concept. I think your production quality just needs to improve. But I mean, your composition and your melodic content and all of that is quite good, and it's a great idea. It's just that your production needs to get to the same level. So nice job, and thanks for submitting. Okay, Subholic, a love that never dies, king of synths. All right. Cool. So the production and the idea is actually really good. I think that your sounds are super unique. I think they work well together. I think that I'm impressed with the song itself. So nice job. The mix just needs a lot of work, and so that can you can be a great producer and not be very good at mixing. And unfortunately, they are two very different things. And I've always thought mixing is harder, to be honest. So you know, it's just it needs a lot of work mix wise. It's just quite muddy. There are certain elements that don't really stand out that should. I mean, you have these really cool growl sounds and stuff, and they just are like quiet. They're like behind in the mix, and they're not like hitting you in the face like they should. I think you could do some cool panning stuff where the synths like move across the spectrum of the pan. But yeah, that would be my main thing is that you just need to improve the mix. And maybe the answer is sending it to a mixing engineer. I mean, I know that that costs money, but um, anyway, that's one idea. I'm not going to go through everything in the mix that needs to be fixed because, it's quite a lot. But, just getting better at that would, really be the next thing you need to do because clearly your production is pretty good. Um, Secondly, my only other real comment would be that I don't think this song needs to be 4.5 minutes long. I think it could be like three and a half. This section, I kind of was getting a little bored. I thought that it was a little too long. So I think if I know that sometimes it's like, oh, this whole thing is so great, I don't want to cut it, but like less is more for sure in a lot of genres, and I think this song really could do with shortening some things and making it closer to 3.5 minutes. But anyway, I think you did a really good job, and if you start to get better at the mixing, then you'll really really be doing well. So nice job. Okay, Gestaltified. That's a cool name. Step back. Cool. Clearly not finished yet, as you say, but I think that's awesome. I mean, I really just am hoping to get to listen to this once it's like mastered, because once that is all limited and crunchy and just like in your face, I mean, it's just going to be awesome. So I think you did a really good job. The sounds are quite good. I think there's maybe some mixing things, but obviously it's a work in progress. I'm not going to get too deep into that. But I really like how unique it is. I think it's innovative. I think it's a really cool track. And the sound design is really good. I really don't have any negatives to say. I mean, it's an unfinished track, so I'm not going to waste time telling you little things that I'm sure you're going to work on anyway. Um, but overall, I think you did a good job, and the mix is actually quite good overall, with some tweaks in mind that hopefully you'll be making. But Yeah, I mean, I think really good job. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you, definitely. Okay. Whoa, this is like grayed out. I haven't seen it do that before. Um, we got Katala compound work in progress. Okay, overall, really, really good. I like that. It's very unique. Your drum patterns are really cool, super interesting. You've got these really cool fills and interesting sounds and everything. I think it works really well. It's mixed nicely. Not a whole lot wrong with it, except I think that in this last drop, when you change the bass note or the bass, it just doesn't fit right. The you're playing the same chords if I'm not mistaken in both drops, but you change the bass melody, the bass root notes, and it may not like it kind of same as what I was saying in that one track early on, and you're playing a certain root note with them, and then you change that root note later, but keep the chords the same. Like it just sounds wrong. Let me just and so I think that that's a problem. There really was I was it was like a perfect track until that. So I think if I were you, I would use. I'd like how you change this. It's not that 808. It changes more into like a traditional sub. I like that, but I would play the same notes. I think that that's kind of the only negative of this track. So, but really good job. I really like it. Super unique, and I think you're doing a great job production wise. So, um, okay, guys, that's about all the time we've got. It's been an hour and 3 minutes, and sorry if I didn't get to your track this time. I hope that that feedback was valuable for you if you did get your track listened to. And if you didn't, I hope that the feedback was still valuable to you because maybe there's some things that you learned or some ideas that you can try out in your own productions. Tune back in 1 week. We'll be doing this again as we do every Sunday, with very few exceptions, at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. in the Czech Republic, I think. So wherever you are in the world, we'll keep doing this. But thank you so much. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And I am going to sign out. Have a great day.